everyone, my name is Frances Gordon and I'm going to be running this 3-hour workshop on how to write legal content clearly. I am co-founder and co-director of a company called Simplified, and we focus on all kinds of clear communication, but we have a very specific interest in legal content. Before we start, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I started my career very far from the corporate arena. I was an educational writer for adult empowerment projects in rural South Africa. So I would travel to quite remote villages and I would find out what projects were underway, and I would write information on things like starting a food garden or a candle making project or a kindergarten. So I would write for adults. And one day I was paging through the newspaper looking for a new job, and I found an advert for something called Plain Language. I hadn't heard of the idea before, but I thought I did it because I wrote for low literacy users and I wrote for people who didn't speak English as a first language. So I applied and suddenly found myself very much within the corporate arena of London. And I was working mostly on functional documents like bills and statements and transactional information for big investment firms, banks and telecoms companies. And, for the first kind of 18 months of my job within this information design consultancy, I couldn't understand why I'd been hired, because I came from education and I came from adult education in rural South Africa, and it seemed very far from the corporate documents I was writing. But what I realized after about 2 years is that I had a skill that was key to plain language, no matter what the arena. And that was to write not for myself, but for the people using the information. And I always say, if you remember nothing from anything that I will say about legal content, remember to write for your users, because that's really what it is about. So how did I get involved in legal? Well, I came around 2004, 2005. I was at a plain language networking event and I met somebody who introduced herself as a plain language lawyer, a plain language attorney. And that really interested me because I had a stone in my shoe. I had a stone in my shoe, an irritation about that content at the bottom of the webpage called legal terms and conditions, sometimes kind of ironically referred to as small print. I had a stone in my shoe because I was annoyed that I was never kind of allowed to work on that content. So I was very interested to meet a lawyer who also had a passion for trying to make clear the contracts that bind us as consumers, because that is in many ways the core of a business. And I feel if you don't get that right, you can't get a lot of the other content clear and transparent and accurate. So very quickly, this turned out to be Candice Burt, who's been a business partner of Simplified for the past 15 years. And in 15 years, we've worked with many content professionals and many lawyers and compliance professionals to try and get legal content to be clearer and more accessible to its users. That brings us to the session that we're going to look at today. It's 3 hours long. It's divided into 4 sessions, and as we go through, I'll give you approximate timings for each session. I'll open each module, which are in different videos. I'll open each one with a headshot, a video, but then in a lot of it, I'll run through it as a audio so that you can see the whole screen. Well, I hope you enjoy the session. Here's some more general information about the course. Here's a little more about the workshop. So the workshop is aimed at content professionals and not lawyers. So it's for you as a content professional if you're writing terms and conditions. You'll need a basic knowledge of plain language, so we won't revise the stuff about active voice and strong verbs. We're going to assume that's all known. We're focusing on content for consumers, and bear in mind, please, this is a 3-hour workshop for a big area, so there are lots of obvious gaps. There are 4 modules. Engage with laws and regulations, learn from your team, plan and structure legal content, and legal words and phrases. Here are the approximate timings for each module. There's lots of optional activities, and if you choose an optional activity, the time will increase. But this is the minimum time you'll need for each module. There is a Word document with this workshop, and you'll find information about that Word, about what you need for modules 1 and modules 3 on the Word document. So please do have a look at that Word document. Right, so what remains is for you to shut down this video and open module 1, where you'll start engaging with laws and regulations. Thank you.